It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get you. That will get you into the studio for. And do we make sure? Test 1, 2. There we go, right? We're good, Ted?
We're good.
All right, man. Well, welcome to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, and you can join the conversation for the remainder of this hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. You can also text us on our text line, which is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And that appears on the screen in the studio, and we try to work it into the conversation if you don't have the ability to call, but please feel free to do so. It is a two-way talk type of show. Today, flying the board back at HQ by broadcast from the Cameo Studios. And of course, the station does stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app, so you can take us anywhere. That's really cool. On your device, your phone, your tablet, your computer. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it. No questions asked. And I am streaming the show today on my social media platforms, Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. So X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. And we are streaming live to the Rumble page as well. So that's pretty much housekeeping. Tells you how to listen to the show. And the show is actually turned into a podcast, so you can subscribe to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. You can do that as well. So, a lot to cover. What's up first? Well, Trump is officially on the warpath, and I'm not talking about a new indictment here. It has to do with this continuing resolution, right? The CR. This time it's one of his own because Congressman Thomas Massey is being a little bit of a pain. He is just going to vote no automatically. Trump's eyes has gone from, from America first to America annoying. The former president, I don't know why he said the former president. That was weird. The president wants him primaried out of public life for being an automatic no vote on everything. On just about everything. Even Trump even compared him to Liz Cheney. And all we know how that turned out for her. So Massey is principled conservative or just another grandstander? And more importantly, does Trump still have the muscle to push out Republicans who won't play ball? Well, I guess we'll see on that. Speaking of playing ball, or leaving the game entirely, how about this? The Trump administration just revamped the old CBP1 app. Remember, we've talked about this before. It was kind of the open table for illegal immigrants. And when they kicked this in, the Border Patrol kicked in this one app. They were bragging about a drop in illegal crossings. But of course, it wasn't really a drop in illegal crossings. It was that they were literally crossing with airplanes. They were flying into the country because they made reservations. So the number of illegals crossing the line just got spread over. We were now, on your text, by the way, we were now flying them from their country to airports all around our country on the CBP app. And it was called CBP1 app. Well, the same app that Biden was using to funnel almost 1 million, over 900,000 illegals into the country. It's going to, now they just changed it to CBP Home. And it's basically a one-way ticket out, right, folks? It's a self-deportation, and they're going digital with it. A simple click and you can say, hey, Uncle Sam, I'd rather leave before ICE finds me. Now, Kristi Noem, the new Homeland Security Secretary, she says, look, it's an easy way out, but it's a really easy solution to our immigration crisis. A high-tech PR stunt, maybe, I don't know. But the thing is, what she's saying is, if you utilize this today, we'll work with you and you self-deport, and we leave the door open for you to come back to the country the legal route. But if you don't, we will find you and we will deport you, and you have no chance of ever entering the country again. Now, obviously, the biggest thing or a great thing would be is if people self-deported. It would save ICE the time and expense of tracking people down, going through the process of deporting them. And I've spoken with people, friends of mine, just around, and life goes on, and you know people. And a lot of people, once Trump got elected, and especially when he got sworn in, a lot of illegals that I know have said, yeah, I think I'm just going to go back, because they know things are going to get tougher. And as they do get tougher for employers to employ illegally and people to function illegally, they might want to go back. And a lot of these people have talked about this before. And I know this because I talked to the people who are doing this. They come here for several years, because even making what we consider not a lot of money or very hard to live on translates back to a great deal of money or a good lifestyle back home. If you can build a nice home for $10,000 in a South American country, they can send that amount home in a year, and the family builds a home and they make a little more money and they've got some kind of life back home. That's what a lot of them do. And then, of course, we've got the criminal element. But a lot of people are saying to themselves, I'm just going to go back because it's not like it was a year ago, 4 years ago. You know, it's not like it was under the Biden administration. It's actually more difficult to get here and to stay here. And that's why we saw a lot of this caravans and even the coyote business dropping off, because they're spending a lot of money to get here. 8, 10,000, 12,000. They usually get held up for more money en route. And families got to pay. So that's a big debt to take on. If there's no guarantee you get over the border into the country, and then there's no guarantee that once you get here, you get to stay here for 5 to 10 years and make some money. So that business, that demand has gone down. So this is saying, deport yourself, no harm, no foul, and let you come back in legally as long as you're not a part of a cartel or criminal background. So that's the message out there. This is not helping people become legal and stay here. You've got to leave and then come back. So that's what that app is now being used as. And unraveling some policies, let's talk about the latest that is a result of the Biden economy, or should I say lack thereof. Credit card debt is through the roof. The housing market is stagnant. We've got people turning to payday loans just to cover groceries. And they were telling us the economy was doing great. Trump has inherited a bad economy. Now there's talk about, he didn't poo-poo the idea, right, of a recession. Stock market has not done very well. But Trump has been telling us this is going to be some adjustment. There's going to be a little short-term pain for the long-term gain. Now, the stock market doesn't like what it's hearing. But let's remember, the stock market's been high on government spending for years. They've got to adjust, because we're looking at Doge coming up with billions of dollars in fraud and corruption. Things have got to find its new level. And then this issue with, Canada, 25% on the electricity. Look, the United States economy is the juggernaut of economies. And these countries have got to understand, don't they? I mean, you would think that they would know. In a long-term pissing contest with the United States, they're not going to come out on top. That we can sustain and we can deal with the short-term pain longer and better than they can. And all Trump is asking on this is not to make money, but to have a fair, open trade, fair and open. That you can't have 50%, 100%, in some cases, 250% tariffs on American products. And we're supposed to have none. We're next to none. No, has always said, he said this, he's been talking about this for 30 years, folks. This is nothing new. And then we've got the issue of free speech in America, right? Because we got this issue arresting the guy from the Columbia campus, rather. Well, the DHS program is monitoring threats based on political speech. So if you're a little too conservative, a little too skeptical of the official narrative, guess what? You just might be flagged. But we have this issue, and we're against the clock, so I'll get into it in the next segment, with the deportation of one of the Columbia agitators that was going on there. And we'll talk about that. Then there's some news in here now. NASCAR legend Tony Stewart. Well, we'll get into that. Well, there's a lot for us to cover, and we always have to pick this down. But basically, we got Tulsi Gabbard pulling security clearances, Wall Street's detox going over, the arrest at Columbia University, self-deportation. We've got the crackdown on the anti-Israel activist Muhammad Kali on the campus. These are all issues that are open and available for you to talk about, and you can take your pick out of these or add something to it. But I want to remind you that we are streaming 24/7 on the TuneIn app. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN, and she'll do that. And I'm streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. So you can watch it on Facebook, X, Twitch TV, which seems to have, I don't know why. It's interesting. A lot of people found their way to watch the streaming show on Twitch for some reason. LinkedIn profile, but more importantly, it is streaming live on the Rumble channel. So you can go to Rumble, Joe Mangiacotti Show, and watch it there. And then the show is later loaded up and aired on Twitch TV as well as the AUN TV network. But folks, we got to take our first break. When we come back, we'll go to the phones. We've got lines filled here. So Mark, Tyler, Bill, all you people, hold on. Right when we come back on the other side, we'll go right to the phones here. Back in 2 and 10.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite. Best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
More live and local radio than anywhere on the dial. Only on Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Join us at the corner of fresh and familiar. North Star Music. New England hits that made radio great. Evenings at 8 on Radio Central, WCRN.
Never miss any of your favorite programs on Radio Central WCRN. For on-demand replays of this and other shows, visit WCRNradio.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment here, the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding you you can also watch and listen to the show on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, or live on the Rumble channel. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Mark has been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
Yeah, I'll make this quick. I was listening to alternative media because you're not going to hear anything of any consequence on the fake news, state-sponsored media propaganda. So I spend my time listening to shows like this and stuff people tell the truth. So anyways, I'm listening yesterday, and apparently Elon Musk, he dropped a little gold nugget to the press late in the news cycle yesterday. You know what he said?
No, what are we talking about?
Press? Okay, what we're talking about is this. He says to the people there at the press late in the day, and he kind of just threw him a little nugget, made a little quip, and he said, "Oh, by the way, myself and the boys from Doge, we're going to be cracking the Ukraine file." They're going to be cracking the file, he said.
Ah.
I hope that they go back to 2014.
That's where it all started. Yeah. I did not hear that, but thank you for bringing that up. That is a gold nugget.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mark. Always appreciate it. Wow. Yeah, that would be nice. Imagine having the Ukrainian version of the Twitter files. Look, there's a lot of money that moved into Ukraine and not a lot of accountability. I've been tooting this on for 3 years here, that there should be closer watch on this. And why do we have certain politicians who just do not want to stop American taxpayer dollars flowing to Ukraine? And Mark makes the point, if you don't understand why he's referencing 2014, that's the year Joe Biden was put in charge of the anti-corruption task force that Obama set up because they wanted $1 billion in loan guarantees. But Obama said, yeah, we'll talk about it, but you guys are the corruption capital of the planet. And we're going to put this anti-corruption task force, which of course they populate with Joe Biden at the head of it. Hillary Clinton flunkies, Barack Obama flunkies all go over there or associated with it. So there you have the fox watching the hen house at this point. And that's when he sent him back, if you remember, to tell Ukraine, because they took a prosecutor out of retirement, the same prosecutor who is investigating Burisma, that Joe Biden's son, Hunter, got an $83,000 a month job or appointment to the board. And they wanted the investigation to stop. And Joe Biden, instead of doing what his boss, Barack Obama, told them to do, go over there, tell them they did a good job. Look at what they did. They're going after all of this corruption. They took this guy out of retirement. And you tell them, yeah, we're going to give you the $1 billion in loan guarantees. But instead, Joe Biden leveraged the American backing of the loan, the $1 billion, against firing the prosecutor looking into the company his son's getting paid on, and then came back here and bragged about it on video. And they were impeaching Trump over a phone call that he said to Zelensky, hey, what's all this I hear about corruption and bad things going on? Will you work with my attorney general to help clean that up? But because the person behind the corruption happens to be Joe Biden, they needed to silence Trump, or try to. That's what was going on. And that's why we talk about 2014. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Tyler, hey, what say you, man?
Well, first I got to say, when I give my love and appreciation of Hank and Ben, for some reason, then Ted and Russ, I always forget the immutable, the innumerable, and the immortal Joe Mangiacotti, who first Monday after the election presented me with 5 minutes of absolute awesomeness, of which the devil's head curled and twisted, and of course Mike Way and Dr. Phil. Joe, I'll tell you two things I can tell you. When the propane fund in 2014, they were negotiating into Durisimo propane, it's the same thing. It's called the boondoggle deal with a return on investment where they write into the negotiation a certain percentage that comes directly back to the negotiator. Ultimate fraud and corruption. It's pervasive and widespread. Oh, this is something serious that we need to bring immediate attention to. I need Trumpenstein to put up the Trump task force because when brought to the Wall Street bigwigs about morals and ethics, they replied, what's that? There's two quick examples of why there has to be some type of oversight on Wall Street. Excuse me. Senator Dodd resigned when this came out. The Pequot hedge fund was gas. They took Joe and Ted and all your people's money and they artificially inflated the value of the propane stock because they can do whatever they want. Then when the price of the stock actually came down to where it was actually at, they had stolen all that money and people were wiped out of their retirement. But just listen to a whole other case on NPR where as a regular routine basis, these greedo demons, they do this boiler room crud where they run up the stock price and then when it hits where it's supposed to be, they call it a hedge fund, then they steal all the money and dump the stock. So as a regular routine, these people are doing that. And then when we ask them, what are you going to do with all that money you made? Oh, we're going to go reinvest it and try to vulture other stock companies. So they'll take a business that's functioning, they'll purchase it, and then they'll break up the individual components. Like
You got to get off the speakerphone, buddy.
I'm not. I put a windshield up there. I just put a windshield up. I'm on the deck. That's wind. So they would take these companies and vulture them, and people would lose their jobs, and people would lose their fortunes, and they make money. It absolutely needs to be an oversight and regulatory committee on stock market because their ability to do widespread damage, which trickle down to the individuals in the local pockets of economic destruction.
Yeah.
It's a pattern and a real problem. I hope Trump can get a look at it. I'll close out with this one quick point.
Sure.
When I heard the Congress loved Elon Musk and Bezos because they said, that's my billionaire tax contributor for my people's credit card. Now that Musk is finding out what they're doing with the money, I hate him. He thinks he's got to go.
Yeah.
We have a widespread corruption and fraud issue that's entangled. We got to clean Trump. We continue to clean it up. We can all benefit.
That's right. All right, Tyler, thank you for the call. Absolutely. You make a good point. And again, it goes back to, I think that what's happening with Doge as well is we all knew, right? We always knew that there was corruption because you hear the stories, right? Every once in a while, you go back to even Obama was talking about the corruption in every politician, most, except for Biden. Most politicians talked about cleaning things up and cutting spending. And there'd be a few ceremonial stuff or sacrificial or they're taught, but nobody has done this level of exam into the corruption, into the waste, into the fraud that Doge is doing. And the fact that when President Trump created it, he created it with a sunset clause on it. He created it with a self-expiring time so that it itself doesn't become a bloated government agency or administrative operation. Plus, the guy running it has multi-billion-dollar corporations to run too. And he did an interview with, I think, Kudlow or one of them from Fox. And they asked him, how are you running your other businesses? He said, with difficulty. Just like Donald Trump did not have to do this. He was, especially the second time around, he was the president once already. So he's a self-made billionaire. He has a great life. He could be at any one of his dozens of properties with Melania. He could be on a yacht with her. He could be on the golf course every day. He could have continued being kind of the iconic celebrity he was. And he came back for a second term at great personal expense to his reputation, threats on his life, money that he loses, and his family as well, attacked, to do what he thinks is the right thing. And Elon Musk is doing the same thing. And when the left, and those on the left, attack him, they don't, there's no self-awareness that they're just a joke, because he was the darling of the left at one time when he was just the father of the electric car, right? And he brought Tesla to a realization and an actual, thing that you can actually drive every day, and making electric car a normal thing to have. Not to mention SpaceX, the defense contracts that he is, with the technology he has provided through government, DOD, right? Pentagon contracts. It's a lot of things we in general public don't even know that his companies have done, or the contracts that he has. And he's gone through every kind of background check and security clearance you can imagine to get these contracts. So it's a joke when some jamoke on the left, talking head, is talking about him having access to all this information, but they have no problem with the millions of bureaucrats who poke around your information every day and have access to it every day. And a lot of those people could maybe be swayed or influenced with a little money. But you have a president that can't be bought, and the guy in charge of Doge is one of the richest men on the planet. Not a lot that you can do there to sway them. And again, Trump has gotten to the presidency both times without selling his soul to special interest groups, without being beholden to PACs that funded his campaign, unlike most politicians. And unlike most politicians, they're always looking at the next election. Trump doesn't have the option. Well, he doesn't have the option of another presidential term. I don't think he's going to run for Senate or anything of that nature. So I think this is it for his political career. So it's his legacy. And I believe, be damned, his legacy is going to be one of prosperity, one of America being a strong country back as the predominant superpower on the planet, economically, militarily, and reputation-wise. We got to take our mid-show break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Keeping it real mild this afternoon. In fact, it's going to feel like April with highs in the low in the mid-60s under mostly sunny skies. There is going to be a little bit of a breeze for the day today. Winds will tend to taper off tonight. Now, cold air returns tonight with a cold front passing through, and that means highs tomorrow will be limited to the 40s. So make the most of the warm air today while you can. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Information central to your day from Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. Security. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. You can also watch and listen to the show, my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, but also on the station's Facebook page, YouTube channel, and we're also streaming in real time to the Rumble channels. So if you go to the Joe Mangiacotti channel on Rumble, you can watch and participate as well there as I broadcast from the Cameo studios today. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Ken's been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hi, Joe. I thought I'd pick up on a couple of topics you've mentioned today.
Sure.
And kind of delve a little bit further into Ukraine, namely Senator Mark Kelly. Now, that's interesting.
He was an astronaut, right? That's the guy he was an astronaut and then he ran for Congress, right? Or Senate, rather.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and his wife was a congressperson.
The one who was shot, right?
Shot.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you got it. So the combination of the astronaut and her connection, made him a sympathetic voice, but he's largely very quiet. I mean, in his, let's see, he got, trying to remember, he got first elected, I think, in 2018. So he's had about 6 years. And one of the quietest Democrats there is. It says little about anything. And now he's showing up in Ukraine and making some trouble, trying to suggest that Trump is trying to weaken Ukraine. And Musk gets in the middle of it and calls him a traitor. They're going back and forth. It's like, wow, the masks are off when it comes to Democrats. They're trying every possible way to undermine a peace agreement in Ukraine for the obvious reason.
Yeah. Is it just, don't you think it's just panic, Mark? They're panicked that this status quo is getting upset. And if we do, and Mark shared earlier, that he watched or heard on alternative type media stuff, so that, and I didn't catch this, so I'm taking Mark's word for it, that Elon Musk said something to the effect of Ukrainian files. I would love.
Yeah, I heard the same, Mark.
Okay,
so I can confirm.
So that's great, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that do not want that, and I wonder. And this just speaks to the fact that there's no wonder that his private security has been deputized as U.S. Marshals, so that they can go places armed that they couldn't normally go. I mean, when it's very difficult to be anywhere in D.C. and be armed if you're not a federal agent. So, look, Trump's life has been in danger a long time, and I think that Elon Musk's life is in danger because he's talking about tearing down things, right, that have been in place, and money circulates. I've always said, I have always personally felt that Ukraine was a massive money laundering operation all the way back to 2014 and before that. And I mean, that's why Obama set up the anti-corruption task force, was because that's literally what they were known around the planet for.
But that goes back to the theory of 2014. That was a deep way. In other words, they're head taking one way. Biden was himself being corrupt on the other side of the corruption.
Yeah.
So it's like a joke. Yeah, that's protection. In other words, Obama wouldn't have done that if within his domain there was a problem brewing. So we had to, point in the other direction. Oh, there's a problem over here. Don't look at us.
Yeah.
We can't possibly be doing it. We're pointing the other direction.
Ken, have you heard that the rumors are? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said that. Go ahead with what
I was going to say rumors are popping up again that Michelle Obama is gearing up for a 2028 run. Of course, you got the school of thought that's a joke, but there are people out there pushing this idea. But at the same time, there's also talk about trouble in paradise with the Obamas too. So go figure.
Yeah, they're very much grasping at straws. She has no interest whatsoever.
Why would she want to give her life up? I mean, she's got multiple mansions, $1 million homes, private air travel, right? Vacations at will. Why? And does she want the scrutiny of being a presidential candidate, much less a president, coming down on her? I mean, she had plenty as first lady, no question. But it was a time where the media, remember when Obama ran and got in 2008, the mainstream media was still the cock of the walk at that time, right? They still controlled the narrative. Things are very different on the media today than they were in Obama's day.
To say the least, and thank God.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But, my topic yesterday, Gavin Newsom, you're talking about two very opposite. Michelle Obama has no interest whatsoever, where Gavin Newsom, that's been his focus since he's been an adult.
Yeah.
Much like Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So totally different figures. My other topic was what's going on with tariffs.
Yes.
And it seems to be escalating with Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how this is going to play out because, whenever there is something related to tariffs, it's usually bilateral. There are the rare deals. Well, I guess Mexico was trilateral, but for the most part, it's, one country is dealing with another. And Canada is in a situation where trying to figure out if they're thinking straight. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's this reaction, and I guess this minister who came out, and talked tough and everything. I think he's going to get a talking to behind closed doors. And the reality of it, as I said, I don't know if it was earlier in this segment, last segment. Look, if you want to have a pissing contest with the United States on the economic front, i.e., tariffs, buckle up, because you're not going to outlast us. And with this guy in office, you're not going to out-tariff us. So what country can go toe-to-toe for any length of time with us? And if you look at the list of things that exchange, we get a lot from Canada, folks, like electricity, like lumber, like cars. And Trump will strategically hit those categories. He'll make it so it's not economical for one car to be imported to the United States from Canada. They will call uncle before we do. And all he's asking these countries, Ken, is fair trade. But even before that, stop with allowing the invasion into the country and the drug trafficking into our country. If you were good neighbors and the allies that you purport to be, you would have been working to stop this all along, especially Mexico, right? Who knowingly allows illegal immigration into their southern border because they know they're just passing through to the American border. And why is Canada laxed about protecting their border and our border on the north? So Trump is just, look, the adult came back in the room. Dad came home. Straighten your stuff up.
All of what you said makes perfectly good sense, but now put yourself what's going in Canada. And 2 to 3 months ago, Trudeau's party was like 20, 30 points underwater. This process plays out, and suddenly they're apparently ahead slightly. So what you could potentially predict is, okay, his replacement's been selected this past weekend, the way their government works, they can have a flash election. So let's say they announce today, but we're going to have an election end of April, and they play tough to the end of April because it's in their interest in staying in power. Then when they retain power, and then that keeps it for, I don't know, at least 3 years, then they'll flip. Have to,
Well, exactly.
power.
But the point is, they may talk tough and they may do these things initially, but they can't sustain it, Ken. They can't survive. We can outlast them.
But they're fine with seeing our stock market collapse as long as they stay in power for the next 2 months.
Yeah, but I mean, I have some notes I wanted to go over that whole thing about. Look, I look at it. Wall Street is detoxing from government spending addiction, right? And that's why there's a meltdown right now. But there's going to be a correction. And yes, the market's down. And there are going to be some smart people right now, Ken, who are buying up as much as they can afford while the market's down, because it's always going to bounce back. And I'm going to trust, and my trust isn't blind. I'm looking at how Trump's moves in this first administration and how powerful the economy became in a couple of years and how strong it was right before the pandemic hit. And that was because of the bigger picture. I think Trump is looking at everything, including the economy, from the 30,000-foot point of view, Ken. And so I have faith that in the long run, it's going to be better, because if it's the 1-2 punch of, making the original Trump tax cuts permanent, altering the corporate tax rate based on whether you're based out of the United States or not, the tariffs, forcing them through how messy it's going to be initially, Ken, but eventually it'll get to fair playing field. Will tariff what you tariff, right? He's not looking to be punitive, just reciprocal. The military back to the fighting deadly machine it should be, and the reputation of the country back on the world stage. All of those things, I think, are going to come, but they're not. Look, it took us a long time to get where we are, and it took some real bad mismanagement in the Biden administration to get us where we are. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen with a little pain. But I think, unlike the Biden pain, it is transitory.
Thanks,
and it will happen. Final thought before I got to go. We're against the clock, Ken.
Yeah, I think his opponents are going to do everything to upstage him.
Oh, 100%. That's the nature of the business. Thanks for your call, Ken. Always appreciate it. Always a great call. All right, folks, we're going to take our third and final break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Stick with us. Back for the final segment in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. From top quality fuel to freshly stocked snacks and essentials, Yatco has you covered. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quansigamut Ave in Worcester. For Yatco rewards, simply download the Yatco app and sign up. Friendly, clean, local, and always convenient. Make Yatco your favorite food and fuel stop. Stop by Yatco food and fuel stations today and experience the Yatco difference. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
All right, folks, welcome back for the fourth and final segment here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, you can usually watch us streaming from the studio on my social media platforms, as well as Rumble on the Joe Mangiacotti channel. And later, you can always watch it on Twitch TV, the streaming channel. And the show is turned into a podcast, and you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, etc. But I want to go back to something that we made reference to with the tariffs and the Wall Street situation. And Wall Street is, in fact, having a meltdown over Trump's economic reset. And it is a reset. And it's a reset we needed. It's a reset that has to happen. Now, they're reacting as if a few tariffs and spending cuts are bringing financial ruin. But in reality, the market's reaction is just a short-term shakeup caused by weaning the economy off of years of reckless spending. For years, and especially under Biden, the economy was propped up by massive government spending, including an estimated $250 billion pumped into the system right before the election to boost Kamala Harris. And this artificial sugar rush helped Wall Street while driving up inflation, hurting working class Americans the most. Now, Trump's economy, or economic plan, I should say, is forcing this necessary detox from the government spending and market manipulation. Tariffs are to level the playing field against China and Mexico. Tax cuts to boost the small businesses and middle-class Americans. Deregulation to unleash American entrepreneurship. Federal spending cuts to tackle the $37 trillion in debt that we have. And the result is, yes, short-term pain, but long-term gain. Just like when Reagan took office, the economy is going through an adjustment period. The real economy, the one that matters to everyday Americans, is poised for a long-term success. So Wall Street's hysteria is a short-term overreaction. And the market hates uncertainty, right? It can't stand it. The entire market's based on futures and predicting what is going to happen. And Trump's economic reset is making big investors a little bit nervous. Reagan faced the same reaction in his early years, but his policies led to one of the greatest economic booms in U.S. history. And the real economy, not just the stock market, is what matters. And it will thrive under Trump's policies. Biden's spending addiction created this mess, folks. He ran a $2 trillion deficit even when the economy was growing, artificially inflating the market. $250 billion was injected into the economy before 2024 election. And this was a blatant manipulation. Then inflation. Now, inflation was the real tax on the working class. Well, Wall Street elites could speculate their way around it. Our wages, although they may have been increasing, the real wage wasn't. It was actually decreasing because the inflation was outpacing wage growth. Tariffs aren't economic Armageddon, folks. They're a way to stop China from stealing our intellectual property, hold Mexico accountable for exporting fentanyl and illegal immigration. Tax cuts will allow businesses to grow, create jobs, bring back economic confidence. And deregulation will unleash that entrepreneurial spirit. It's going to allow the innovation and competition to flourish. And when you are regulated to death, a company can't get out of the cradle. It needs that ability. So I think the media and the left, which is arguably the same thing, are just scaring Americans or trying to scare you. The media and left-wing economists are hyping stock market dips, right, to attack Trump. This happened back in the Reagan years too, by the way, in the early years. But what matters is wages, job creation, lower prices, economic stability. And the left wants you focused on short-term fear, not the long-term strength America's economy has and will show. So do you believe Wall Street's panic is overblown? Are you willing to endure short-term pain for long-term prosperity? And what should be the priority here? Helping Wall Street or helping working Americans? Which way are you going to go on this? 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000 gets you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. So again, on this arrest at Columbia, the anti-Israel activist Mohammed Khul, crackdown on campus. Look, according to Trump and the administration, intelligence gathered by DHS and State Department flagged this Khalil guy as a national security threat. And due to his involvement in activities aligned with Hamas, he was designated a terrorist organization, Hamas is designated a terrorist organization. He's associated with them. As a result, his green card was revoked. He was taken into custody by Immigration and Customs, ICE. And Trump praised this as the first of many. But then you have this judge in New York who has temporarily blocked Khalil's deportation, citing potential due process concerns. We've got to be careful about allowing these activist judges to overstep their scope of authority and try to run another branch of government. The left is very quick to try to point out that the executive branch is overstepping into the judicial, but what about when the judicial oversteps into the executive? This sets up a major legal and political battle over free speech, anti-Semitism, and national security enforcement. Khalil was actively supporting Hamas. That does make him a threat to U.S. security. And the left is trying to tell you, you've got these members of Congress even saying that his arrest is about silencing dissent rather than addressing security concerns. No. Freedom of speech and the freedom to protest does not mean you get to break the law or put anybody in danger or hurt anybody. Then you got this Crockett, right? The Texas congresswoman. I don't know if you caught this. I wish I had the audio available. She does this video post. And remember, she's an attorney, or at least went to law school. I don't know if she passed the bar. I honestly don't. But she's a member of Congress who has a law degree. And she goes on to lecture us that illegal immigrants aren't illegal. They're not breaking the law because it's a civil issue. Let that sink in for a second. She literally makes a post lecturing you that they're not criminals and they haven't broken a law. Although it's actually in the descriptive title of what they are, illegal alien. And breaking into the country illegally is absolutely a crime, you jamoke. So what gets me is when somebody is so ignorant and so wrong on something, but they argue it to this level, to actually do a post for millions of people to watch, and she lectures you that you're an idiot because you think entering the country illegally is a crime. Wow. The Immigration and Nationality Act allows deportation of non-citizens who endorse or support terrorism. So does this guy's activism meet that threshold? That's the question. Trump says there will be more arrests. And they need to crack down. Right? it's about time. This is just a matter of putting it right. Now, it looks like Trump may have outmaneuvered this Obama-appointed judge, by the way, because this guy, a prominent figure in the pro-terrorist demonstrations, including that illegal occupation of public spaces, by the way, chasing of the Jewish students, barricading in the library, remember the janitors being held against their will? Remember all that. Activists surrounded the Jewish Center chanting for a global intifada. He was filmed participating in that library takeover. So when they moved to deport him, Judge Jesse M. Furman of the Southern District of New York intervened, blocking the deportation, calling for legal arguments. Well, Trump administration, they transferred his butt to an ICE detention center in Louisiana, where Furman has no jurisdiction. See, under federal law, habeas corpus petition must be filed in the district where the detainee is held, meaning Furman's ruling is now ineffective. It's just null and void. It's outside of this judge's jurisdiction. He's in the federal system and the deportation path right now. So legal experts agree that this move prevents left-wing judges in New York from interfering in Kahali's deportation. That's back on the table. And he's not an innocent activist, folks. He is a pro-terrorist agitator who helped lead anti-Semitic protests. His actions, including calls for global intifada, align with terrorist rhetoric, and it is a threat to public safety. The Trump administration is right to remove foreign nationals who engage in extremist activism. You are a guest here. You are not a citizen. The Constitution doesn't apply to you in the same way, and especially when you are doing things against the good of the country and our national security. Leftist judges have made it their mission to block Trump's efforts to secure this country. And Judge Furman, appointed by Obama, attempted to override federal law to try to keep this bad actor in the U.S. And this is part of a broader pattern of activist judges obstructing Trump's immigration policies. It really is, folks. Relocating him to Louisiana, the administration removed the case from Furman's jurisdiction. Now, any legal challenges must be filed where? In Louisiana, where judges are less likely to block enforcement, right? But folks, we have to wrap up the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Thank you for joining me. Back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. Stay tuned. Frankie Boyer is coming up at 2 o'clock with some fantastic health information as usual. All right, folks, Joe out.